Mirdita, dashur miq, Mirdita Antonio, miku ton dashur Antonio Lopez Isturiz White, I cili është sekretari përgjithshëm I IDC-CDI, organizatës më të madhe botërore të qendrës djath, por në të shkuarën e tij ka qenë edhe deputet I Parlamentit Evropian për shumë vite dhe në të njëjtën kohë edhe sekretari përgjithshëm I Partive Popullore Europiane, familjes më të madhe politike të qendrës djath në Evropë, ku Partia Demokratike është anëtare prej shumë vitesh, por në organizatën e re botërore, ku Antonio shërben si sekretari përgjithshëm, ne tashmë kemi edhe nderin që kryetari I partisë tonë është dhe zëvendës president I asaj organizate që e ka çuar zërin e Partisë Demokratike tek familja më e madhe e qendrës djath në botë, ku problematikat e Shqipërisë trajtohen në vazhdueshmëri dhe nga ku kemi marrë dhe disa rezoluta që kanë dënuar normalisht smundjen kryesore që ka shoqëria shqiptare, që është vjedhja e zgjedhjeve. Mirdita Dr. Berisha, faleminderit që jeni në këtë organizim të një takimi ku bashkohet, le të themi, forumi me partinë, sepse sot kemi një takim me 71 anëtarë të Këshillit Kombëtar, fitues, të cilët dolën nga lista e të rinjve dhe është një risi, një ripërtëritje, një rini përtëritje për Partinë Demokratike, ku për herë të parë Këshilli Kombëtar I Partisë Demokratike përfaqësohet me 30% të rinjve. Pra, të rinjt bëjnë pjesë 30% të Këshillit Kombëtar Partisë Demokratike. Është diçka historike. Patjetër që ka ardhur nga vota e kuvendit kombëtar, nga vota e delegatëve, por në të njëjtën kohë është edhe një shpërblim I sakrificës të gjithë juve që keni bërë betejat këtyre 13 viteve, qindra protestave kombëtare, mijëra protestave më të vogla dhe dhjetra mijërave aksioneve të cilat ju I keni bërë me shumë sukses dhe me shumë krenari dhe me kokën lart. Unë dua t'ju falenderoj për gjithë mundin tuaj dhe jam I bindur që ky pozicion në Këshillin Kombëtar të cilin keni marrë nuk është as pak privilegj, por është një përgjegjësi të cilën do e bëni me shumë dedikim për të çuar misionin ton, për të rrëzuar këtë regjim dhe patjetër për ta sjellë Shqipërinë në shinat e demokracisë dhe në qeverisjen e Partisë Demokratike për të vazhduar arritjet aq të mëdha për të cilat na I la në mes ky regjim prej 13 vitesh. Ju faleminderit dhe suksese. Doja t'ja kaloja fjalën patjetër mikut ton Antonios.
I didn't understand anything, but I have to tell you, it sounded very well. So I think, and you were saying something nice about me. Good. Thank you very much for that. And especially thank you for this warm welcome. And also to Dr. Sali Berisha, which is always an honor for me. And since when I was Secretary General of the EVP, now with International, with the Martin Center, that's why I'm here these days. The foundation of the EVP, we have a meeting in Durres, and with experts talking about the enlargement of the European Union. Albania is there. But all the experts agree Albania has to be a member of the European Union. There's no question about that. The fear that they express is, can we have this Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, in the European Councils? This was not said by politicians, it was said by experts. Claro, I was reflecting on that because I come from Spain. And there we have a prime minister, socialist, whose wife, brother, 3 ministers, former Prime Minister Zapatero, are in front of the judges today. I see some, unfortunately, similar trends. These so-called socialist parties, I think that they have the same problem inside and outside of the European Union. And we are suffering this. That's what happens inside the European Union. There is a consequence. How many socialist governments are there in the European Union today? Anyone? How many socialist governments are there in Europe? Which are? No. There is someone that knows. Take good note. Someone that is close, very close. Spain and Malta. Denmark is now, they're forming new government, probably lost. So it's only Spain and Malta. It tells you. European societies, they are tired of socialism, fake socialism, because it's fake. They do not defend the workers. They defend themselves. In a moment where everybody is thinking, you, now the new generation of politicians that you are now present in the council of your party, Democratic Party, thank you for that. It's impressive how things are changing now, especially in the field of youth and women in the Democratic Party. Not because anyone asked you to do it, but because you wanted to, and you felt that this is the best way of proceeding. You are confronted with the same scenario as we are in Spain. I come from Partido Popular. We are confronted with the same nightmare. Of course, we are lucky because we are inside the European Union. So we have the European institutions keeping an eye on a corrupt government. Here, you are not so lucky. You aspire to have that. Becoming members of the European Union can save you from very bad governments, like the one you have today here. You are the ones that you will govern Albania, I hope in the very next future. Please remember the fight that you are giving these days, where you come from, and in order not to make the same mistakes that these people are doing. The fight will not end winning an election. The fight will continue when you are in government. Because then you will have to recover this country. And the work is incredible. To recuperate the country that was left by the last government of the Democratic Party in a path towards the European integration that has been destroyed now through these years. I see the Prime Minister of this country, I mean, the only things I get in the Spanish media or in European media, it's like funny anecdotes of this Prime Minister, kneeling to Meloni, I mean, in Spain, the prime minister kneels in front of anyone, he will last 2 hours. I mean, it's not funny. It's the image, the prime minister, the president is the image of the country that represents. You cannot be such an actor or showman. But it seems that it's fashionable these days, because not Albania, many other countries, they have this kind of presidents. But okay, you are the reasonable, rational politicians that you cannot fail in the same kind of thing. You will always be focused in the future of Albania. And in the European, not dream, reality of Albania. I know it's tough. I know sometimes you get a little bit depressed or desperate in this fight. It's not easy. Sometimes media doesn't help. Sometimes institutions don't help. Sometimes you feel a little bit alone in this. But my nearly 30 years of experience in politics, 25 of them in positions in Brussels and in Madrid, close to the Prime Minister of Spain, José María Aznar, then in Brussels as Secretary General and so on, they have taught me one principle. People only respect and admire people who have fighted against all odds. If it's easy, no one will follow you. If you fight against all odds and you succeed, people will see you as a leader, as leaders, and they will trust you. So, the more difficult, higher the reward by the people. Because people will say, oh, they beat it, Eddie Rama, you know, against all odds. That will be in the future, in the close future, what they will have in their minds. That's what they have to keep. I'm not telling you anything that I have not gone through in Spain. For some, all the democratic time in Spain has been governments of Partido Popular or Socialist. It's always the same thing, not only in Spain or in Albania, it's also in many European countries. Comes a socialist government, spends all the money, gives money everywhere, and then, you know, the country becomes poorer in such a way that people finally vote for the other option. Democratic Party, Partido Popular, in the hope that we will clean the house and put it in order. And we do so. But it seems that later on we become boring. You know. And then comes another socialist full of great ideas on how to spend the money that we have produced. There is like a vicious circle in Europe about this. I have good news. As I said before, only 2 socialist governments are in Europe right now. And I'm telling you, the Spanish one, he doesn't want to call for elections. I can understand, because most probably, you know, if he goes for elections, then he will lose his immunity, and you know, he might end in prison. No? I don't know. what can happen there, if you have your wife, your brother, and everybody, it's a matter of time. Huh? I guess that he might be scared. I understand, like others. And that's when they grab into power and they don't allow elections, they don't allow anything. In Spain, we should have had elections a long time ago. Imagine for a moment that the wife of presidents of Partido Popular, Rajoy or Aznar, were not even indicted by the judges, mentioned in a newspaper, an accusation. It will be fire in the streets. It is unjust. Well, welcome to the center right in Europe. Not only you. Okay? It happens everywhere. So you are not alone in this fight to get your country clean and in order. And to be an example in the Balkans to set to entry in the European Union. I know the difficulties today because you have a showman that prime ministers in the European Union, they laugh, they enjoy all these shows, but when they are, with their advisors, they say, ooh, this one wants to become member of the European Union. Claro, they are human beings. They have their own little club. I know that club. And they all go later on to their own meetings. And then is when you hear that some European countries are boycotting the access of Albania to the European Union. They are not going to say in public to the cameras why. They don't want to make enemies. But in the obscurity of the council passageways, they say, how can we accept such a country with such a president? Or, how can we accept this? So, I do not envy you, but I have gone through the same thing as you. You have all the support of the European People's Party, of the internationals, the IDU, the CDI. I know that I belong to a long list of European leaders that always when they find an opportunity, they come to visit you and support. My good friend Dolores Montserrat, the now Secretary General of EVP, came here, and twice or once, or I don't know, 3 times. There you are. Good. She trusts in your fight and in your work. I know because I have spoken with her many times. Albania is a dear country for Dolores and myself. And your party has been an inspiration many times. Also you, Dr. Berisha. Of tenacity, fighting spirit, of sometimes when you feel that, that you are against all odds, there are certain people that you remember, no? Look, always on the fighting side. In politics, again, you will find these moments, okay? Now comes, you tell me if I'm too long, huh? No, because, no, because, I have this tendency, in the European Parliament, that we can only speak for 1 minute, and in these occasions, you start to feel at ease, there is, I will be short on this, there is a geostrategical shift in the world. If you are kept outside of the European Union, you will be every time more in a more difficult situation. You will be in the hands of China, Russia, Turkey, and many other countries that democracy is not their, let's say, choice. It's not their inspiration. And they are coming. They try to grab democratic countries, profiting that they have bad governments. They're very subtle, very, very subtle. They pay, they don't ask. They build one highway or a palace or whatever, an airport, and then, they say, no, we don't want anything else. Yes, they want. It's only for strategical positioning. Now more than ever, in this panorama, Albania cannot remain outside of the European Union. Okay? In politics, sometimes, believe it or not, forget about this TV series, House of Cards, forget about that. In politics, and it has worked for me many times, you have to think with your heart, not with your head. Okay? You have to make your bets, not because it's, what everybody's doing, but what I think should be done. It will work for you. I remember, I'll give you one example. Politicians, we always tend to find, or we are always searching for news, something, that could have the spotlight, no? No. You have to dedicate yourselves to what you know. The spotlight will come to you. Not because you are searching for it, but it will come if you are good in what you're doing. When I left the Secretary Generalship of the DPP, I said, what I'm going to do now? I was searching what are the topics, I said, my hobby is the Middle East. And with that, this was 4 years ago, with that I will go under the radar because no one take cares about the Middle East. I was wrong. I became an expert on the Middle East in the European Parliament. If you ask around in the DPP group and so on, Tono is the guy that knows about Israel, about United Arab Emirates, Iran and so on. And you say, but excuse me, it was the contrary. I didn't want to be. Because I chose what it was my hobby in politics without thinking that this will make me more, visible. No, forget about it. Specialize yourselves in topics that not necessarily are spotlight, but maybe at a certain moment will become important. And that is your momentum. And then you will be in the spotlight, but in a responsible way. Not like a clown, like others are doing. On a responsible, constructive way. It's very tempting nowadays to follow populists. Populists are loved by the media. They give headlines because they say big stupid things that for whatever reasons people seem to be moved today to listen to. I don't blame people. I don't blame voters. They are going through a difficult moment. They have fear. New technologies, artificial intelligence. Is this going, I think by age you might be thinking, I'm going to lose my job? Could I be a lawyer in 10 years? Because then it's a machine saying, what are the laws? You have this worry. I can understand. These are the things that you have to analyze, to give answers to the people. I think it's the Pope that is coming to Madrid this weekend, has made a very interesting now encyclical about artificial intelligence. Either you're Catholic or Christian or not. I'm not a very active, I have to tell you, but I'm going to read this encyclical. I want all these revolutions, the artificial intelligence and so on, to be human, not mechanical. I want to be controlled by humans. And I'm going to fight for that. This is what generationally should be your concern. And that's what you have to give answers. Now all these you young people, in the council, you have to give answers to people that are afraid in the streets. You have to tell them. I was telling Dr. Berisha, I was 2 weeks ago in a forum in Madrid, big CEOs of technological companies and artificial intelligence companies from the United States, Spain, and Latin America. CEOs, the big shots. And I said, this is my opportunity. I told them, have you checked what are the social consequences of all this? Millions of people that they don't know what is going to happen tomorrow morning? That happened 100 years ago with the Industrial Revolution. How that ended with 2 world wars. My humble aspiration is this doesn't end with a 3rd World War. So we have to check the social consequences of all this. And this is up to you. Generationally, I cannot. You, yes. So you have another fight there. If you succeed, people in Albania will trust you. That's what you have to do in these new times. If you are too scared, if you are worried, if you have fears, then leave. Go to the private sector and participate in this magnificent revolution. You as politicians, you have to give the fight for the people. I wish that the so-called Socialist Party was doing that, fighting for the workers and for the people. But we all know what there is. So it's up to us now to take this task. We are center-right party, we are Christian Democrats, we are liberals, conservatives, but that includes also human beings. And the human beings are the center of our politics. Socialists can continue with climate change, with whatever fights they have, indigenous populations in I don't know, in Latin America, whatever they want. Us, the problem we see here, we fight for that here. Finally, I've come many times to Albania. Thank you very much. I want to say it publicly. As a fellow Spanish Mediterranean person, I have always felt here at home. Always, in very emotional moments, and others are not, and so on, and I've been, and I suffer. I suffer when I see the possibilities. I come from a country where we have 80 million tourists every year in Spain. And I suffer when I see that there are no infrastructures, nothing in Albania that could produce, because I see the same possibilities. But there is not the possibility to bring, and to create prosperity the same way as in Spain because of the situation, the political situation, the economical situation. Please be up to the challenge. It's not being in a council that will make you smarter or more beautiful. It's what you will make out of it. Is the results that you will produce for the people. I hope you are now, I was told here there are 71 out of 100, and yeah, I'm very humble. There are 2 or 3 persons here that will make the change in the future. And I hope that they are here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your speech, Antonio, which is one of the most precious, closest friends of this party and this country. Antonio Lopez Isturiz White supported Democratic Party of Albania and followed development in this party, in this country, in the most difficult days. He was and he is a great friend of difficult days, difficult times. He was also a real staunch advocate of our causes. As Secretary General of EPP, as European parliamentarians, as Secretary Executive of CDI, Antonio did what he had in his hands to support our party. To support our party to prevail in election campaigns. To overcome misunderstandings and difficulties that accompanied our journey. So my gratitude and the gratitude of DP will be forever to you. You're a great friend. Few words about this audience. This audience, dear Antonio, is the real audience of hope. If you ask me to qualify, I will qualify them as a audience of hope for the party and for the country. I asked myself, and I told also you, how it happened that your presence in National Council doubled. And you owe. And it came absolutely as a necessity felt by members of convention to renew the party. The convention that we held as a convention of renewal. There are no better vectors of this process than you are. You are the vision. Your vision is the best vision for the party. We stood for modernizing the party. No one could contribute more than you in modernizing this party. We stood for a better organization of the party. No one could contribute more than you in a new organization of our party. In fact, you have a great start, a great beginning. That is, as a young politician, member of National Council, you could become the major pole of succeeding in all our objectives. And I am very optimistic. You have all qualities, all potentials to meet your mission, to meet your duty. I have no advice to give you but one, which I say from a young man. We went through some special times during our fight against communist dictatorship. And this young man came every day in my office and put me a question. What we have to do them today? What we have to do to them today? And this was Azerbaijani. And when I told him that we will do this and this, he embraced me. And when I told him that today we will do this and this, he embraced me and he left. And now everyone from us should put the question, what do we have to do to achieve our goals, to renew this party, to renew the vision, to modernize, to better organize. This is the best way to achieve our goals. We have a special enemy. This enemy is, as you see it, is a party founded and based on the crime. I'm coming with Antonio. We were in a conference of Martin Center, and I explained them what is happening. But I didn't went to some other aspects. I didn't tell them that 2 weeks ago, the Socialist Party of Albania rewarded the medal of gratitude to a man, a former MP, which turned to be an informant of a serial killer, of Altin Hayri. Jurgis Çürgen used his MP mandate to have strong links with police and announced him for every movement of police in the region. And a young lady was candidating for our party. One day this serial killer went expressly, intentionally, stopped the car before her and showed himself, terrorizing her that I'm here. And this MP got the Medal of Gratitude of Edi Rama. So happened with the father of Ergüs Agassi, most dangerous mafia man in Europe, because he was the closest person officially to Prime Minister, and he controlled all digital data of Albanians and foreigners in Albania, etc., etc. His father was chosen amongst 100,000 socialists to be rewarded as Nobel of Socialist Party. Why I'm stressing this one? In my youth, I was a cardiologist. And I learned something which helped me all my life. I was caring with old people, ordinary, but also it happened member of Politburo. I never cared about Enver Hoxha because Enver Hoxha never asked me to care about him. But others, yes. What I saw there, what I learned this. The most appreciated people were those who broken the bones of their adversary in cells. When this butcher came to meet with them, the voices were lowered, the time was stopped, and they were much highly appreciated that their colleagues, member of Politburo, ministers, whatever. Why this? And they knew that these criminals, horrible, they were violating the law. Because then time laws were bad laws, but they didn't allow for torture. They didn't allow for extrajudicial killings. They didn't allow for that. The laws were bad, but they have some. However, they proceeded. They proceeded, and the nomenclature knew that, but so they are highest appreciated. Imagine why the crime necessary for their power. That's why they are so precious. They knew that they are committing crimes, but they are committing for their chairs, for their power. Many decades later, I see Edi Rama. Why he used criminals? Why he used drug cartels? For the sole reason that he wanted to achieve via them what he could not achieve through law. Identical to his father. His father signed to hang Havzinela. His father looked like a gentleman. Tall, handsome, well-dressed. But when it came to the poet, which has written verses that in Albania the wind of Helsinki will blow also in our fields, then the father of Edi Rama signed his hangings. Why? Because it threatened the power. The crime to them was utile, was helpful. The crime to Edi Rama is identical. That's why he rewarded Jürgen Stürbia, an assistant of an ugly serial killer, which decimated the corpses of his victims. Young people were. That's why he decorated Bardhyl Agasi, the father of Ergys Agasi, to tell Albanians that for us, the criminals are nobility. I'm not talking further, but as I gave you this example, to realize how ugly are these enemies, because they are enemies to freedoms of Albanians, and we have to fight them. And we will fight and fight and fight, and we will win. But you have a very substantial role to become the flag of DP success, of DP victory. I'm absolutely sure that you will do it. Thank you once again. Dear friend, thank you. What a great honor you did us. Thank you. Besar.
Të japim dhe shansin për një koment, pyetje, kushdo, diku 2-3 pyetje koment, kështu kushdo që mund të ketë, ngrej dorën. Okej, Nikola atëherë.
Hello and welcome again to Albania. It's really good to have such great friends here with us again. It's true what you said, that every time the center-right comes to power, it has to clean up the mess that the socialists make. I used to live in Spain and I saw the effort that the Rajoy government did to clean up the socialist mess. But when Sanchez came to power, through a mini coup in the parliament, putting together communists, separatists that wanted to break Spain, I noticed that he also had support at various times from Ursula von der Leyen, for example, who was I've had the possibility to discuss this also with Secretary General Montserrat, who was a different party altogether. And I see the same similarities sometimes also in Albania. You've been a great friend, Dolores Montserrat has been a great friend and a huge help, the CDI, the EPP, the IDU, but I think that maybe a deeper cooperation and partnership between the member parties of the EPP brought up to the level of governing parties, because the EPP governs 13 countries in Europe today, maybe is necessary, and I wanted to ask about your insights about this. So how can we raise this party-level partnership to the governing parties that are governing today most of Europe? In Germany, soon maybe in Spain or in Italy, we have Forza Italia and in other countries. Because, and I conclude with this, if they were to see our program, our vision, our alternative, they would see that their interests are aligned with our interests. Our vision, for example, is for an Albanian century here with production, innovation, lower taxes, with the Albanian citizen and families at the front, and an Albania that keeps off foreign interferences, China's, Russia's interferences, and so on, and makes Albania an added value partner for the EU and for NATO. So I don't see why a German government led by the EPP party there should not see us as a partner. So how can we increase this partnership to that level of partnership?
Okej, dikush tjetër që të marrim 2-3 dhe pastaj ta përfundojmë. Okej. Perfect.
Look, when I was coming here, defending the Democratic Party in the past and so on, my party was in government. So, I have not changed. And I had all the support from the leadership of my party. Another thing is the relation between governments. That when you will be in government in the future, you will learn that, relations between governments is something else. Is in the defending the interest of the citizens. Okay? Not the party interest. That goes for us, not for the socialists. Okay? For us, for the EPP members, governments and so on, they are elected, to represent the interest of the country. So it is in the interest of many European countries to have a good relation with the government of Albania. Because of Edi Rama, no. Because of the interest of the countries in Albania. What do you have to do? Try to approach the parties, not the government. Forget about the government. They have their own interests. You have to structure a relation between parties. It's difficult because when parties are in government, usually they tend to forget. That's why I was remembering you in my previous speech. When you arrive, don't forget where you come from and your fight. Because this happens a lot. The left is always very well coordinated. I know many socialist MEPs in the European Parliament that they have told me that they cannot understand this showman that they have in Albania. But they will never go in public. They are very concentrated, they exercise big solidarity between them. Ours, no, we are very critical. Yeah, but I don't want to be a robot, a socialist robot. I like parties where there is debate, where there is critique. Okay? It's good. Democratic Party has gone through many of these times of discussion, of debate. No? Well, it's good. If you want to be in a dictatorship, go to the other side. Okay, it's, good. Good for you. If you defend some ideals, I think that you have to be here. This question that you were told, it's very familiar because I always try to explain to the people in my party that Ursula von der Leyen is not in love with Sanchez. Okay? Which is very much in the mind of my people. No. Ursula von der Leyen has to be the president of the Commission. She is elected by the prime ministers. She has to have a good relation with all of them. Doesn't mean that she, I know what is the opinion of Ursula von der Leyen about some prime ministers. But she cannot express this opinion. Another thing is that in Brussels, Commission officials tend many times to be, let's say, softer with socialist governments. They have a tendency, I think it's something like natural, when an EPP government is there, we can ask for reforms to clean the house. But when the socialists come, okay, leave it, It's like maybe a habitude or something, there, that I want to break. The EPP has to break. Nothing to do with Ursula. Ursula has other problems right now. She has to deal with Donald Trump. She had to deal with COVID. You know, I mean, I'm sure that if there is a change in government in Spain tomorrow and Feijóo comes, I mean, I'm sure that Ursula will be far more even smiling than now. Maybe. We will have to wait for that. Trust me. Sánchez lied, not lied. He was a parliamentary assistant in the European Parliament for 2 years, so he knew the game. And when he arrived to the council, you know, but he's good looking, you know, and he was going around, charming everybody, you know, and so on. But what is it today? What is the news today in Brussels about Sánchez? That he stole billions of euros from the recovery funds to put them as to pay Spanish pensions. No, the recovery funds are to recover from COVID, not to pay the pensions. That is the Spanish state who has to pay. You see? Now is the news in Brussels because all the other governments are enraged with this. And with the now opening, you know, this 2 million now opening of Spain, you know, without consulting of immigration, without consulting with no one. Do the prime ministers go to the TVs and criticize Sánchez? No. But I can imagine the phone calls right now. You see? So you are using the European money to pay the pensions? Are you crazy? Sometimes we have to be patient. Sometimes we have to be patient. We will overcome. It was the founding fathers of the European Union were not socialists. They were us. They were Christian Democrats, founding fathers of the European People's Party. And so go and on and on and on. For 80 years. We will overcome. We will always be the reasonable voice that at the end the people will rely on. That in the meantime, they feel attracted by all this propaganda, false propaganda, firecrackers, you know, of this kind of governments like the one in Albania. They are not to blame. They are not to blame. They will know. Because here, the real hybrid problem of Europe is Edi Rama. He is a hybrid problem. Not people demonstrating. No. This is the question. So the relations with other parties should be, I mean, I can mention here, Doctor, you will allow me because I know she's a good friend, you know. I mean, for example, Albana. In the question of the CDI that you mentioned, she's doing an outstanding work. Working with all the international parties and so on, you know. I mean, you have to do it also. Don't feel that international politics is something, you know, for these weird people like me, that we are dedicated to international politics, that the important thing is national politics. It happens the same to me in my party in Spain, although after my years of service, people look at me with some respect. I go around in the Spanish Congress, you know, my members of the Spanish Congress, they always, when they see me, they try to escape because I'm saying, have you learned a little bit more about the European Union? Come here. You are discussing about the European Union in the Spanish Congress and you don't have an idea. No? It's a task for everybody. If you don't speak languages, any one of you, start now. Please do so. okay? I know that they will invite a box that will translate everything, okay? But till that moment, please, all of you, it's good that they hear also local, regional politicians talk, not only the international representatives. A Spanish member of the Congress, a Spanish mayor, will feel more attracted if some mayor of Albania from the Democratic Party comes and talks to him. Not this UFO of a member of European Parliament, okay? So maybe now, young generation, that you are so present in the council, you should take also that step and represent your party outside. And try to offer yourselves for these kind of things.
Duke falenderuar gjithë për pjesëmarrjen sot edhe për përgjegjësinë që keni marrë për ta bërë me sukses. Falenderoj Antonion, mikun ton përsëri, doktor Berishën dhe shihemi në eventin e radhës. Faleminderit. Tani bëjmë një foto grupi, mirë?